Alright, I know I've done a lot of tier list videos lately, and I swear, this will be the last one for a while. But today, I'm going to try and sort every NBA team for the upcoming season into different tiers. Now, I'm not going to be doing these in order like I was for my ranking videos, just trying to see what tier each of these teams is going to fit into. So without further ado, let's get into it with number 1, the Milwaukee Bucks, and I think this is going to be an S tier team. Like, straight up, the Bucks, they arguably would have won the title last season, or at least made the finals, had they been healthy, had they not been missing their second best player, so they gotta go into the S tier. If anything, they should only be better than they were in the previous season. The Brooklyn Nets, I'm gonna put them in C, because I don't think that they're actually going to trade all these guys that they're talking about trading, but at the same time, I don't know if they're going to play either. Like, Ben Simmons may not play, Kyrie and Kevin Durant may both not play. I have no idea what's going on with this team, so in fact, I'm actually going to put them in the F. I think they're going to be an absolute disaster, even if they do play because so many people went out of there. That's an F tier team for me. The New York Knicks, I'm going to go with a C. They're an F if we're just making fun of them, if we're talking about their own expectations for their team. They just signed Jalen Brunson to an absolutely ludicrous contract. He's a very good player, but he doesn't help this team at all. They're not going to be making the playoffs with him or anytime soon, so C tier team. Toronto Raptors, I'm going to put... where do I want to put the Toronto Raptors? I'm going to put them in B for now, but I could absolutely see them rising up into A. They have a lot of young players who continue to get better. I think B is alright for them. The Utah Jazz, I'm putting into the C. That team's a joke. They just lost their best player. Donovan Mitchell may get traded at this point, and even if he doesn't, that team is really going to struggle, in my opinion. I know I made a video a while ago saying they may have won the Karl-Anthony Towns trade, but the more I look at it, it looks like they're planning to trade Mitchell, and they're going into a rebuild. I don't know what the heck this team is doing, but I'm putting them in the C tier. The Rockets are an F tier team. Easy one. Their team sucks. You know, maybe Jalen Green or Kevin Porter Jr. break out, or whoever their first round pick was has an amazing season, but unless something absolutely incredible happens with one of their young guys, they're going to be at the very bottom of the league. They may be the worst team in the league this season, and to get them out of the way, the other team I think has a good shot at being the worst in the league is the San Antonio Spurs. That team has absolutely no one now that they traded DeJounte Murray. They are clearly in the rebuild, and they don't have anyone on the team who looks like they may break out into an all-star caliber player in the next year, so they're going to suck. They're going to be trash. The Pelicans, on the other hand, could actually be really good. Now, I'm hesitant to put them in the A tier, but you know what, YOLO, I'm going to put them in the A tier here. If Zion is healthy and playing, they have 3 all-star caliber players in him, CJ, and Ingram. Jonas Valanciunas is a phenomenal center. They have some good defensive players around there. Their offense is going to be incredible. This could be a really good team. I'm not going to say they're a contender. I've seen a few people going as far as to say this team could make the Western Conference Finals or something. They're probably a first or at best second round playoff exit, but this is going to be a very fun team to watch and a pretty good team in the NBA. The Los Angeles Lakers, I mean, they have LeBron James. They're a B tier. I feel like some people may want to put them in C just because they're running it back with those 3 guys. But if AD can stay healthy for, you know, his usual 50 games instead of the, 30 he managed last season, and he can at least kind of look like he did in 2020, they could still be a B tier team. They could sneak into the playoffs and lose in the first round again. I feel bad for LeBron that he's this good at this age and his team around him sucks, but he also brought it on himself by winning these players. So, B tier team. Arguably C tier, I may end up moving them down further on the list. Bulls, I guess I'm going to put them in A. Oh, man. Honestly, controversial. I'm going to put them in the B tier. The Chicago Bulls, I think DeMar DeRozan kind of overperformed his expectations this season, and I think the team as a whole overperformed their expectations. They played very good defense this year, and that is not a team with much defensive talent whatsoever. I think they're really going to fall off on that end, and while I think DeMar is probably going to have another all-star caliber season, I don't expect him to once again look like a legit superstar in the league. So I'm going to put him in the B tier, arguably an A tier team, however. Minnesota Timberwolves, I'm putting them in B. Karl Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert duo is going to be interesting to watch. They should be a fun team. Anthony Edwards is really, really good, but I really don't know how the fit's going to work. I think you can manage a guy like Evan Mobley playing out of position, playing a smaller position than he is for his size, but Karl Anthony Towns on any power forward is going to be a massive speed mismatch on the perimeter, in my opinion. I really think this team is going to have kind of a wonky offense for the start of the season, and even once they do figure it out, I just don't believe in the fit very well. Portland Trail Blazers. If Dame's healthy, they're at least in the C tier, but frankly, this team has no defense whatsoever and no depth whatsoever. Dame and Simmons or Simons are going to be a really fun backcourt duo, but other than that, what does this team have? They're in the C tier. Denver Nuggets, low-key contender next season. I am putting them in S tier. Nikola Jokic just showed the world that he was the best regular season player on the planet. Yes, he was better than Embiid or Giannis in the regular season. He deserved his MVP. The dude's going to be getting Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. back with more defensive help. The Nuggets are going to be incredible. I'm telling you now, don't be surprised if they win the championship. OKC Thunder. I'm going to go with C. The team is still tanking. I don't believe in Chet Holmgren whatsoever. I think he's going to be... I am excited to see him and Poku on the court together because you know it's going to happen. But, I mean, I don't believe in this team. They have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and he's great. But other than that, they're a C-tier team. They're still a few years away from going for the playoffs. Grizzlies, I'm putting in the A tier. They were great last season. Some people might even think they should be S tier, but realistically, I think we kind of saw in the postseason, as good as they are of a regular season team, they don't really have the star power to be legit contenders, in my opinion. Ja Morant is a great player, but I think he's still outside of that superstar category, and while the team has a lot of really good supporting players, they don't have a second all-star. So I'm putting them in the A tier. Next up, the Dallas Mavericks. Luka Doncic alone puts this team into the A tier. He is such a good player. I don't think he's winning the MVP next year simply because you've still got a prime Embiid, Jokic, and Giannis playing against him, and they all have better teams than he does. It's a shame they lost Jalen Brunson, but Tim Hardaway Jr. coming back should kind of replace him, and I'm excited to see what he can do with this team. He gets better every season. I really hope they get him a legit second All-Star at some point in the future, but for now, he still gets them in the A tier just with his incredibleness alone. Yeah, incredibleness is a word now, by the way. The Phoenix Suns. Wow, they just had the worst two-game straight choke in a playoff series, maybe ever, maybe in all of NBA history. It was pathetic. It was legitimately, that might have been the worst Game 7 performance I've ever seen. I'm still going to put them in A tier because they're still a really good team, but I mean, I kind of want to put them in B or C just because of that playoffs, but realistically in the regular season, they're still going to be really good, but I obviously do not trust this team enough to put them in S tier once again. Now, the Clippers I'm going to put in S, and the obvious caveat here is if they are healthy. If this team is healthy, they are a legit contender. They could win the title. One of the best duos in the league. They'll be incredible. However, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and John Wall are all players who you never really know if they're going to be healthy. So while this team is, on paper, incredibly stacked, maybe the best team in the NBA, if they're not healthy, they're going to be down somewhere else depending on how many of their injury-prone players are injured. So, you know, this is only if health. Golden State Warriors just won the title. Easy S tier. They're a beastly team. I don't expect anyone on their team to fall off quite yet. Klay Thompson may be even better next season after he has a full summer to work out and recover. Detroit Pistons, I'm going to put in C. They're not going to be good, but they've got a couple good young players who could, still make some noise. So I'm going to put them there in the C tier. Not quite an F tier team anymore, in my opinion. Similar situation with the Kings. They're not making the playoffs, but De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis keep this from being a bottom-tier team. Could be a really fun duo to watch, and maybe get them into the play-in tournament, but I'm not counting on it. Cleveland Cavaliers, B tier. Darius Garland's a beast. They have a great defense, but I think teams may start to get used to this weird three-big lineup they play if they keep playing it, and find more ways to exploit it next season than they did last year. So I wouldn't be surprised if they fall off a little bit from how good they were looking last season. The Boston Celtics, I'm going to put them in S against my will because I don't like this team as a Sixers fan. But, I mean, they just went to the finals, and then they massively increase their bench depth. So, like, you got to put them in S tier. They're going to be a very, very good team next season. The Sixers, I really want to put in S tier. I really do. I'm going to put them in A for now because we don't know how good James Harden is going to be. I am hoping and praying. All of the signs this offseason have pointed to James Harden. He's been working out. He's been working with the teammates. He's in better shape. He looks like he's in better shape. He should be that dude once again. But because we don't know for sure yet, I'm going to put this team in the A tier. But if James Harden is 100%, if he looks like he did in his first year in Brooklyn again, or he looks close to Houston James Harden, this is an S tier team because he got an MVP. Tyrese Maxey is an all-star caliber player. Tobias Harris is really good. This team added a significant amount of depth this offseason. They're a really good team. I really hope James Harden is there so they can compete for a championship. The Charlotte Hornets, I'm going to put in C tier. They're just not very good defensively. They lost Miles Bridges because he is a scumbag human being and is going to be going through legal troubles for presumably the entire season. I don't expect him to play. So while they're still going to be fun with LaMelo, they're going to have a fun offense. I don't think this team is really going to be anything special. I don't expect them to make the playoffs. Washington Wizards, very similar story. I think they overperformed themselves just a little bit last year. A lot of guys who really aren't that good played a bit better than they should have. I think next season they're once again going to be in the lottery. Bradley Beal, who knows at this point? I mean, I think he signed his contract, so he's stuck there, but like, he's just going to end up being one of those guys who is real good and kind of forgotten because he always played on a weak team. Similar to Damian Lillard, but like not as good as Damian Lillard, you know what I'm saying? Orlando Magic, I'm going to put in the C tier. And low-key, this team could be pretty solid. They have a lot of really young players who, if, like, all of their young players improve by, like, 10%, this could be a play-in team. Honestly, they could potentially be very good defensively and have enough good offense from their guards and bigs who can shoot. And they just got the number one overall pick. That dude's really good. This could potentially be a legit play-in team, but I don't expect that to happen next year. I'm going to keep them in C. Never bet on good things for the Magic. You know, they could happen, not betting on it, though. Indiana Pacers, I'm going to put in the C tier as well. I don't think it's fair to put them in F when they have Tyrese Halliburton because he is so good on his own, but the rest of this team is just not great. They obviously completely botched the trades that they were doing last season, and this organization is just kind of a bum organization. Miami Heat, A tier, and Atlanta Hawks, A tier. Two pretty easy ones there. I don't think either of them are real contenders. Jimmy Butler and Lowry are getting older, and the Heat do not have as much depth as they did last season, especially in terms of defense. Especially with Jimmy Butler getting older, I just don't trust him in the regular season. But they will still be a very good team and a tough playoff out. And the Atlanta Hawks, adding DeJounte Murray is huge for them. I want to say they are a tiny bit below being a playoff dark horse. But realistically, DeJounte Murray could do wonders for them. Having another good offensive all-star and great defensive guard next to Trae Young, this team could, low-key be the dark horse of the East. They could be a phenomenal team. So that is it. That is my ranking for every team going into the NBA season next year. Please let me know what you agree and disagree with in the comments. Where do you think I'm overrating or underrating a team? And once again, I promise my next video is not going to be a tier list. Thank you for watching.